I stand by the kitchen window, washing the dishes, my thoughts racing faster than the water swirling down the drain. Life with Erica used to be simple, full of love and laughter. We were high school sweethearts, a cliché romance that everyone envied. Her smile could light up a room, and her brown eyes, deep and full of promises, used to make me feel like the luckiest man alive. But now, everything feels different. There's a heaviness that lurks in the air whenever we're together, a sense that something is off. She's been distant, distracted even. Lately, her phone is practically glued to her hand, and her texts are secretive, always followed by an exaggerated laugh when I ask who she's talking to. Just last night, while we sat on the couch watching reruns of our favorite sitcom, I caught her staring at her phone, eyes wide, a sly smile playing at her lips. "What's so funny?" I asked, my voice sounding more curious than I felt. Her laughter sounded forced, and she quickly tucked her phone away. "Oh, just a meme Olivia sent me," she said, brushing it off. Her casual demeanor felt like a mask, something she wore to hide whatever was truly beneath. I didn't want to be suspicious. We've had 7 beautiful years together, after all. But the rumors whispered among our friends started to poison my mind. Whispers about how Erica had been seen around town with someone else, a man I didn't know. I dismissed those rumors, of course. People love drama, and gossip spreads like wildfire. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Tonight, though, the suspicion coils tighter around me. Erica has mentioned working late at the architecture firm again. It's the 3rd time this week. "You know how it is," she says, kissing me on the cheek with that charming smile. "We have a major project coming up." I try to be supportive, even if it's a struggle. Yet, as I watch her walk out the door, I can't help but notice the way she checks her reflection twice, adjusting her blouse and running her fingers through her chestnut hair. Her perfume, one I bought her for our anniversary, lingers in the room long after she leaves. I slam the dish I'm washing into the drying rack, water splashing everywhere. I have to stop thinking like this. Doubt can destroy a person, can tear relationships apart from the inside. But I can't ignore it. The way she avoids eye contact, the way she seems to be somewhere else even when she's right next to me. A knock at the door pulls me from my thoughts, and when I open it, I'm surprised to find Mark standing there, one of my closest friends. His expression is serious, his mouth set in a hard line. "Hey man," he says, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "We need to talk." "About what?" I ask, my stomach twisting. Mark looks at me, and there's something in his eyes, pity, maybe, or guilt. Whatever it is, it sends a shiver down my spine. "It's about Erica," he says, his voice low, almost apologetic. And in that moment, I know my world is about to shatter. I feel my heart freeze in my chest, every muscle tensing as if bracing for impact. Mark's words hang in the air, heavy and suffocating. "Erica?" I manage to croak, though my throat feels like sandpaper. "What about her?" Mark runs a hand through his hair, clearly uncomfortable. We've been friends long enough that I can read his every mood, and this one is pained, conflicted. He doesn't want to be here, doesn't want to have this conversation, but he's here anyway, which means it's bad. Really bad. He sighs. "Look, I didn't want to get involved," he says, voice tight. "But I saw her, man. Twice now." My stomach knots tighter. "Saw her where?" He hesitates, glancing at the floor before meeting my eyes. "At the Clover. You know, that bar downtown. And she wasn't alone." I stumble back, gripping the edge of the table for support. The Clover is where we used to go for dates before life got busy. It's where I once proposed to her under dim lights, our love cemented in laughter and shared drinks. Hearing that she was there, of all places, makes this revelation feel like a knife to the gut. "With who?" I ask, though part of me doesn't want to know. Part of me wants to cover my ears and pretend this isn't happening, to ignore the cracks that are spreading through the foundation of my world. "A guy," Mark says quietly. "Tall, well-dressed." They looked close. "I'm sorry, man. I couldn't just keep it to myself after seeing it a second time." My grip tightens on the table, and for a moment, I can't breathe. The room feels like it's closing in, the walls pushing inwards. Erica. My Erica. The woman I built my life around. the one I trusted more than anything. The idea of her with someone else, laughing and smiling at the clover, is like a betrayal so deep I can barely process it. "You're sure?" I ask, my voice shaking. "It wasn't just a work thing or something?" Mark's expression is grim. "I'm sure. They weren't acting like colleagues. And I heard some whispers, too. Rumors going around that she's been seeing him for a while." I'm reeling. My brain refuses to process this, refuses to believe that it could be real. Erica has always been my rock, my partner in everything. But now, the trust one held onto so tightly feels brittle, as if it's been crumbling all along and I never noticed. Mark lays a hand on my shoulder. "I'm sorry," he says. "I really hope I'm wrong. But you deserve to know, and I thought it was better coming from a friend." I nod numbly. "Thanks," I manage to say, though my voice is a ghost of itself. He gives me a sad smile, squeezing my shoulder before leaving, the door closing behind him with a quiet finality. I stand there for what feels like an eternity, the house too quiet, too still. The echo of Mark's words reverberates in my mind, mixing with the doubts that have been swirling for weeks. Suddenly, I can't stay still. I grab my keys and storm out of the house, my vision blurring with a mix of anger and heartbreak. I don't have a plan, only a desperate need to see for myself, to prove Mark wrong, or maybe confirm the ugly truth. My hands shake as I drive, memories flashing through my mind. Our first dance, our wedding day, the lazy Sundays spent in bed together. How could she betray all of that? When I finally reach the clover, I park a block away, my heart pounding so hard it feels like it's going to burst. I sit there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turn white. Do I really want to do this? Do I want to see what I might not be able to unsee? Taking a deep breath, I steel myself and get out of the car. If my world is going to shatter, I'd rather face the pieces head-on than live with these endless questions. The neon sign of the clover looms ahead, glowing a vibrant green in the evening dusk. I step inside, and the familiar scent of stale beer and fried food hits me, mingling with the laughter and murmurs of the evening crowd. This place used to feel warm, a haven for us. Now, it feels alien and hostile. My eyes scan the room, desperately searching for her. The bar is packed, patrons huddled in groups, faces lit with amusement or deep in conversation. I feel like an intruder, a stranger in a place where I once felt at home. And then, I see her. Erica is at a table near the back, leaning forward, her head tilted in that way she does when she's fully engaged. Her laugh carries over the noise, carefree and infectious. But it's not directed at me. No, it's for the man sitting across from her, a tall guy in a crisp, tailored suit. He has that polished look, the kind that screams wealth and privilege, everything I'm not. My stomach twists painfully. The way she looks at him, the way she's hanging on his every word. It's a side of her I thought was reserved for me. I feel like I'm watching an intimate moment I was never supposed to see, like an uninvited guest peeking through a window. Before I know what I'm doing, I'm moving, my feet carrying me through the maze of tables. My heart pounds in my ears, a thunderous rhythm that drowns out any second thoughts. I'm not even sure what I'm going to say, but I can't turn back now. I come to a stop right in front of their table. Erica's laughter dies on her lips when she sees me. Her eyes widen in shock, her cheeks flushing a deep red. The man across from her, who I now realize looks older, late 30s, maybe early 40s, turns to face me, confusion flickering in his gaze. "Chris," Erica says, her voice breaking. Her hand, which was resting on the table near the man's, retreats like she's been burned. What are you doing here?" I stare at her, my chest tight with a storm of emotions. Anger, pain, betrayal. "Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing," I say, my voice colder than I ever thought possible. Her eyes flick between me and her companion. "This is a work meeting," she stammers, her voice unconvincing even to herself. "We were just going over." I cut her off, my frustration boiling over. "At the Clover? Really, Erica? Since when do work meetings look like this?" I gesture around at the dim lighting, the empty wine glasses between them, the cozy way she was leaning in, as if sharing secrets. The man clears his throat, clearly uncomfortable. "Is there a problem here?" he asks, his voice calm but authoritative, like he's used to being in control. "It only makes me angrier." "Who the hell are you?" I snap, my fists clenching at my sides. I can feel every muscle in my body coiled. Ready for a confrontation? "And why are you having work meetings with my wife?" Erica shoots me a panicked look. "Chris, please," she says, her voice desperate. "This isn't what it looks like." But it sure as hell feels like what it looks like. The betrayal stabs deep, and I feel the sting of tears at the corners of my eyes. I refuse to let them fall, refuse to break in front of her and this stranger. The man stands, adjusting his suit jacket. "I think it's best if I leave," he says, his voice still smooth, as if this is just another business meeting gone wrong. He glances at Erica. "Call me if you need to discuss anything further." He brushes past me, and I barely resist the urge to grab his collar. But this isn't about him. Not really. This is about her. The woman I trusted, the woman I loved. When he's gone, Erica turns back to me, her face a mix of anger and guilt. "You had no right to come here," she says, her voice low. I laugh, a bitter, hollow sound. "No right? Are you kidding me? I had every right, Erica. I'm your husband. Or have you forgotten that?" She flinches, and for the first time, I see something break in her expression. "We need to talk," she whispers, and I can tell that whatever she's about to say is going to rip me apart even more than this moment already has. Erica and I stumble out of the clover, the air between us tense and crackling like a live wire. The night is cool, but I barely feel it. My body is running on pure adrenaline, every nerve buzzing. Erica keeps glancing around, as if hoping the street will swallow her up, or maybe as if she's checking for witnesses. We stand under the glow of a street lamp, the yellow light casting shadows across her face. Her eyes dart away from mine, and I can see the guilt written all over her expression. It's almost worse than denial. It's confirmation. "Talk," I demand, crossing my arms over my chest. No more excuses. No more lies. She looks down at the ground, scuffing the toe of her shoe against the pavement. "Chris," she starts, her voice trembling, "I didn't want you to find out like this." I feel my jaw tighten, a wave of anger rolling over me. "Find out what, exactly?" I spit out. "That my wife has been lying to me? That our marriage is built on quicksand?" Her head snaps up, her eyes brimming with tears. "It's not like that," she cries. "You have no idea what I've been going through." I laugh, a harsh and humorless sound. "Oh, please enlighten me. Tell me how difficult it is for you to sneak around behind my back." Her face crumples, and for a moment, I think she's going to crumble to the ground. But then she squares her shoulders, a flash of defiance breaking through the guilt. "You never listen to me," she says, her voice rising. "You never notice how unhappy I've been." I reel back, stunned. "Unhappy?" I repeat. "When did you ever say anything about being unhappy, Erica? We've had arguments, sure, but we always worked through them. At least, I thought we did." Her hands are trembling, and she grips her arms as if trying to hold herself together. "I tried," she whispers. "I tried to talk to you, but you were always busy, always preoccupied with your work. And when you weren't, you were distracted or tired. I felt like I was suffocating, like I was disappearing right in front of you." The words cut me deeper than I'd expected, but I refused to let myself feel sorry for her. Not after everything. "So this is my fault?" I ask, incredulous. "You decided to step out on our marriage because you were feeling neglected? And instead of working on it, instead of telling me you were drowning, you just found someone else?" She wipes at her tears, and something inside me cracks at the sight. This is the woman I loved, the woman I built a life with. But love doesn't excuse betrayal. Love doesn't mend what's broken beyond repair. "It wasn't planned," she whispers. "It just happened, and I hated myself for it. I still do." "Convenient," I snap. "Did you hate yourself when you laughed with him? When you shared inside jokes over wine? Because that's what I saw in there, Erica. You didn't look like someone hating herself. You looked happy." She flinches like I slapped her, and the guilt returns, shadowing her eyes. I was happy, she admits, and it feels like the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. For a moment, I felt seen, like I mattered again. The ache in my chest is nearly unbearable, but I force myself to stay upright. You mattered to me, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Maybe I wasn't perfect, but I loved you. And you never gave me a chance to fix things. She steps forward, reaching for me, but I back away, my heart pounding with a mix of sorrow and rage. Chris, please, she begs. I know I've hurt you. I know I've broken your trust, but we can fix this. We can try to be better. I shake my head, tears burning in my eyes. How? I ask, my voice cracking. How do you expect me to put the pieces back together when you've crushed them into dust? For a moment, neither of us speaks. The silence between us feels heavier than anything I've ever known. Then, Erica lets out a shaky breath, her shoulders slumping in defeat. I don't know, she says quietly, but I'm willing to try if you are. I don't respond. I can't. The hurt is too fresh, the betrayal too deep. I turn away, feeling like the ground beneath me is falling apart, and I walk back to my car, leaving her standing there under the street lamp, her tears glittering in the dim light. I sit in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turn white. My heart is pounding, a heavy drum that echoes in my ears, and for a moment, I just stare out the windshield, watching Erica standing under the street lamp. She looks so small, so vulnerable, like a shadow of the woman I thought I knew. I want to scream, to punch something, to let the storm inside me rage. But instead, I just sit there, frozen in the wreckage of my emotions. How did we get here? How did everything fall apart so completely? Was it my fault? Or was this something that had been doomed from the start, cracks forming beneath the surface long before I noticed? I force myself to breathe, to think. Driving home feels like an eternity. The house is dark and silent when I walk in, and the emptiness hits me harder than I expected. Memories flood the space. Erica and I curled up on the couch, our laughter bouncing off the walls, us dancing in the kitchen, the radio playing a love song. Lazy Sunday mornings when the world felt perfect. But now, the house feels cold. I feel like a stranger in my own home, a place that once held everything I loved and now feels empty. I slump onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. The anger comes in waves, crashing against the sorrow. I trusted her. I gave her my heart, my dreams, my life, and she shattered it all. Yet, underneath the rage, there's a nagging ache, a sense of loss I can't shake. I loved Erica. I still do, even though every piece of me is screaming that I shouldn't. A sound breaks through my thoughts, the soft click of the front door. I lift my head to see Erica stepping inside, her face pale and tear-streaked. She closes the door quietly, as if not wanting to disturb the ghosts of our life together. Chris, she says, her voice raw. Can we please talk? I lean back, my exhaustion seeping into my bones. What more is there to say? I ask. You've said enough. She walks into the living room, stopping a few feet away from me. Her hands are trembling, and she looks at me with an expression I can't quite decipher. Part guilt, part desperation, part something I'm too tired to name. I know I've hurt you, she whispers. I know I can't take it back, but I can't bear the thought of losing everything we've built. I can't lose you, Chris. A bitter laugh escapes me. You should have thought of that before you decided someone else's attention mattered more than our marriage. She flinches, and I can see the pain in her eyes. But pain isn't enough. Guilt isn't enough. Nothing feels enough to erase what she's done. I was lost, she says, her voice cracking. I felt invisible, and I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to fix what was wrong. You didn't even give me a chance, I shoot back. You turned to someone else instead of trying to fix it with me. We sit in the silence of our broken dreams, each of us too lost in our own pain to find a way forward. Finally, Erica speaks, her voice soft, almost defeated. Do you still love me? The question hangs in the air, a heavy weight pressing down on me. Do I still love her? My heart is torn, broken, but love doesn't just disappear overnight. It lingers, even when it shouldn't, even when it hurts. I don't know, I admit. my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if love is enough to fix this. She lets out a shaky breath, and I can see the tears building in her eyes again. Please, she begs, give me a chance to make it right. I stand up, unable to look at her any longer. I need time, I say. I need space to think. Right now, I can't give you any answers. Erica nods, her face crumpling, and for a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. But then I remember the betrayal, the way she looked at that other man, and the sorrow is replaced by the burning ache of anger. I'll stay at my sister's for a while, she says, her voice breaking. Take all the time you need. She turns and walks away, and I'm left alone in the silence of our shattered world, wondering if we'll ever be able to put the pieces back together, or if they're too broken to fix. Days blur together. The house feels emptier than ever without Erica here, but her absence is a double-edged sword. It brings a strange, quiet relief, but it also amplifies the pain of betrayal, like an echo that never fades. I go through the motions, wake up, go to work, come home, but everything feels muted, colorless. My friends notice. Mark checks in often, trying to drag me out for beers or to watch a game, but I turn him down every time. I'm not ready to face the world, not ready to pretend that I'm okay. Instead, I find myself pacing the house at odd hours, haunted by memories I can't escape. I sit on the edge of our bed, the sheets still carrying Erica's scent, and the weight of everything crashes down on me. I remember how we used to lie here, whispering dreams about our future, our laughter tangled in the darkness. Now, those dreams feel like distant echoes, unreachable and shattered. My phone buzzes, breaking me out of the spiral. I pick it up, and my heart skips when I see a text from Erica. My fingers hover over the screen, hesitant, before I open the message. Erica, I know you need space, but I just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you. I hope you're okay. I feel a rush of anger, followed by a pang of something softer. How can she be the source of so much pain, and yet still make me feel like this? It's maddening, the way my heart refuses to let go, clinging to memories of love even when trust is gone. I don't respond. Instead, I toss the phone onto the bed and bury my face in my hands. I need to clear my head, need to stop drowning in this endless cycle of confusion and hurt. Grabbing my jacket, I head out the door, the crisp evening air biting at my skin. I start walking, not caring where I go, just needing to escape. The streets are quiet, the town's familiar sights bathed in the warm glow of streetlights. My feet carry me to the edge of the park, a place Erica and I used to come on lazy Sundays, lying on a blanket in the grass, sharing whispered secrets. The memories sting, but I force myself to keep moving. I'm lost in thought when I hear a voice call my name. I turn to see Mark jogging toward me, concern etched on his face. He's wearing his old college hoodie, and it's clear he's been out for a run. He slows to a walk when he reaches me, his breath visible in the cold air. Hey man, he says, trying to catch his breath. Didn't expect to see you out here. I shrug, shoving my hands into my jacket pockets. Needed to get out of the house, I admit. Too many ghosts in there. Mark's eyes soften with understanding. Yeah, I get it. How are you holding up? I let out a bitter laugh. Barely, I say. Everything feels wrong. I don't know how to start putting the pieces back together. He nods, his expression serious. You don't have to do it alone, you know. We're all here for you. I know, I say, though the words feel hollow. I've always prided myself on being strong, on handling my own problems. But now, I feel like I'm breaking, and it's not something I know how to fix. We walk in silence for a few moments before Mark speaks again. Listen, I know you probably don't want advice, but maybe you should talk to someone. Like a therapist. I raise an eyebrow, caught off guard. You think I need therapy? Mark shrugs. It couldn't hurt, right? You've been through hell. Might help to talk it out with someone who knows how to deal with this kind of stuff. I don't answer right away. The idea of spilling my pain to a stranger feels uncomfortable, but I can't deny that I feel lost, more than I ever have. Maybe Mark is right. Maybe I do need help to find my way through this mess. Yeah, I say eventually. Maybe I will. Mark claps a hand on my shoulder, giving me a small smile. Good. You deserve to heal, man. You really do. I nod, feeling a glimmer of something I haven't felt in days. Hope. It's small and fragile, but it's there, a flicker of light in the darkness. As we part ways, I realize that maybe, just maybe, there's a way forward. It won't be easy, and it won't be quick, but it's a start. The next day, I sit in my car outside a small, nondescript building. The sign reads Dr. Harris, licensed therapist in clean, simple letters. I'm early for my appointment, and I spend those extra minutes contemplating whether I should just turn around and leave. The idea of spilling my deepest, most painful secrets to a stranger still feels alien, like stepping into a spotlight when all I want is to hide in the shadows. But I remember what Mark said, you deserve to heal. I deserve that, don't I? Taking a deep breath, I get out of the car and walk into the office. The receptionist, a kind-looking woman with graying hair, greets me with a warm smile. You must be Chris, she says. Dr. Harris will be ready for you shortly. I nod, mumbling a polite thanks before sinking into one of the waiting room chairs. I feel exposed, my anxiety churning. This isn't me, I think. I'm supposed to be strong, the guy people lean on. But here I am, feeling like I'm crumbling from the inside out. The door to the therapist's office opens, and a man in his early 50s steps out. He has a calm presence, with glasses perched on his nose and a kind, thoughtful expression. Chris, he says, and I stand, my legs feeling like lead. I follow him into his office, which is decorated in soft, neutral colors. It's welcoming, warm, not the sterile, clinical space I was expecting. Dr. Harris gestures to a leather armchair, and I sit, trying not to fidget. So, what brings you here today? He asks, his voice gentle. I take a shaky breath. My wife, I begin. Or maybe my ex-wife. I don't know what we are right now. The words tumble out, heavy and raw. She cheated on me. I just found out, and it feels like my world is falling apart. Dr. Harris nods, his gaze steady but not intrusive. That's a lot to process, he says. It's understandable that you feel lost. Lost. That word hits home. Yeah, I agree, my voice cracking. I don't know who I am without her. We've been together for so long, and now everything feels broken. He leans forward slightly. Tell me about her, he says. Tell me about the life you built together. So, I do. I talk about meeting Erica in high school, about the way she'd light up a room with her laughter, about how we shared dreams and built a life that felt solid, unbreakable. I talk about the good years, the simple joys, the way we grew together. Or at least, I thought we had. But then I talk about the distance, the subtle changes that I ignored, the signs that we were drifting apart. I tell him about that moment in the clover, the way my heart shattered when I saw her with someone else. Dr. Harris listens quietly, never interrupting, never pushing me too hard. When I finally stop talking, my throat dry and my heart aching, he gives me a moment to breathe. It sounds like you've experienced a profound betrayal, he says softly. And with that comes grief, not just for the person you loved, but for the life you thought you had. Grief. The word feels right, like naming a monster that's been hiding in the dark. Yeah, I whisper. It feels like something died. He nods, his expression gentle. Grief isn't linear, and healing takes time. But you don't have to go through it alone. I leave the session feeling raw but lighter somehow, as if sharing the weight of my pain has made it a little easier to carry. It's a small step, but it's a start. When I get home, the silence still feels heavy, but there's a new resolve simmering beneath the surface. I can't change what Erica did, can't go back in time and fix everything. But maybe, just maybe, I can find a way forward. That evening, I pull out a box from the back of our closet. It's filled with photos, souvenirs from trips, little notes we used to leave each other. Memories of a happier time. I flip through them slowly, allowing myself to mourn what's lost, but also to cherish the love that was real, even if it didn't last. As I hold a photo of Erica and me, laughing in the summer sun, I realize that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to live with the scars and maybe, someday, finding peace. The days pass slowly, but I start to settle into a new rhythm. Therapy becomes a regular part of my week, a place where I can unpack the mess inside me without judgment. Dr. Harris helps me make sense of the whirlwind of emotions: anger, betrayal, grief, and, confusingly, the love that still lingers despite everything. On a quiet Saturday afternoon, I find myself back in the attic, sifting through boxes that I haven't touched in years. The air is dusty, thick with the smell of old cardboard and forgotten memories. Part of me feels like I'm torturing myself, revisiting the past when the future is still so unclear, but I need to face it. I need to remember where everything went wrong. I come across a small, wooden chest, something Erica and I called our memory box. We made it together during our first year of marriage, painting it with silly doodles and phrases that meant something only to us. Back then, everything we did felt meaningful, full of promise. Now, the sight of it feels like a punch to the gut. I open the chest, and the first thing I see is a bundle of letters, tied together with a faded ribbon. I pick one up and recognize Erica's neat handwriting. These letters were from when we had to spend time apart for work, a time when we thought distance was our biggest challenge. I unfold one of them, the paper soft from years of being pressed together. "Chris, my love, I miss you more than words can say. The bed feels empty without you, and I keep catching myself reaching for you in the middle of the night. Sometimes, I think about how crazy it is that I found my best friend and my soulmate all in one person. I can't wait to be in your arms again. Every moment apart only makes me love you more. Forever yours, Erica." The words sting more than I expect, a bittersweet echo of the love we shared. Back then, we believed that love could conquer anything. But love alone wasn't enough to protect us from the distance that grew, the misunderstandings we never resolved. I dig deeper into the box, finding mementos from trips we took, like seashells from our first beach vacation or the movie stubs from our countless date nights. Each item holds a memory, a moment of happiness that feels almost unreal now. The person I was back then feels like a stranger, a version of me that was whole and unbroken. But then, I come across something I hadn't thought about in a long time: a small leather notebook. I flip it open and realize it's filled with Erica's handwriting. At first, I think it's one of her old journals, but as I skim through the pages, I see that it's filled with ideas for our future, a dream list of things we wanted to do together: travel plans, projects for the house, even names we considered for kids we never had, dreams that now feel out of reach. I close the notebook, my hands trembling. The life we imagined together is gone, slipping away like sand through my fingers. But as painful as it is, there's a part of me that feels grateful. Grateful that, for a while, we did have something real. It's just that real things can still break. My phone buzzes, interrupting my thoughts. It's a text from my sister, Sophie. She's been my rock through all of this, calling me every day, reminding me that I'm not alone. "Hey you, want to come over for dinner tonight? The kids miss you, and I make a mean lasagna." The invitation brings a small, genuine smile to my face. Sophie's kids always know how to brighten my day, even in the darkest moments. "Me? Sure. I'll be there at 6. Thanks, sophomore." I set the phone down, feeling a little lighter. There's a comfort in knowing that family is still there, that I still have people who love me. I pack up the memory box, but I don't shove it back into the attic. Instead, I leave it on the shelf in my room. It's part of my story, and even though it hurts, I'm not going to bury it away. Later, as I drive to Sophie's house, I realize that healing isn't a straight path. It's messy, filled with setbacks and small victories. But I'm starting to believe that I can survive this, that maybe life has something more in store for me. And for the first time in a long while, I feel a flicker of hope. Sophie greets me with a warm hug at the door, and I let myself sink into her embrace. Her home smells like roasted garlic and freshly baked bread, a comforting scent that makes my stomach rumble despite the knot of emotions I'm still untangling. Her 2 kids, Ellie and Ben, come barreling down the hallway, laughing and calling my name. Uncle Chris. Ben, the younger of the 2, throws himself at my legs, and I scoop him up, his giggles infectious. Ellie, who's recently decided she's too mature for hugs, gives me a shy smile, but I can see the excitement in her eyes. "Hey, you too. I say, ruffling Ben's hair and giving Ellie a playful wink. Did you save me any lasagna? Or did you eat it all? Ellie rolls her eyes, a habit she's perfected at 9 years old. There's plenty, but only because Mom made, like, 100 pounds of it. Sophie laughs, guiding us into the dining room. Not quite 100 pounds, but close enough, she says, grinning. I figured you could use some comfort food. I smile back, grateful for the effort she's put into making me feel at home. We settle in at the table, and for a while, the chaos of the past few weeks melts away. Ben tells me all about his latest obsession, dinosaurs, and Ellie shows off a bracelet she made with beads that spell out brave. Brave, huh? I say, examining the bracelet. That's a good word. Are you feeling brave today? Ellie looks thoughtful, twirling a strand of her curly hair. Sometimes, she says, but sometimes not. I nod, understanding the feeling all too well. That's okay, I tell her. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It just means you keep going even when you are. She smiles, and I feel a pang of something I can't quite name. It's a mix of longing and love, a reminder of how much I want to protect the people I care about, even when my own world feels fragile. Dinner is a warm, noisy affair, filled with laughter and clinking glasses. Sophie's husband, David, joins us late, bringing in a box of pastries from a bakery downtown. We all dive in, and for a moment, the worries and heartbreak fade into the background. I almost feel normal, almost feel whole again. After dinner, Sophie and I sit out on the back porch while David handles bedtime. The night is cool, and we wrap ourselves in old blankets, watching the stars peek out from behind wisps of clouds. I sip my coffee, savoring the warmth as it spreads through my chest. Sophie looks at me, her expression soft but serious. "How are you really doing, Chris?" she asks, her voice gentle. I take a moment to think about it, to sort through the mess of emotions I've been carrying. "I'm surviving," I say finally. "Some days are better than others. But I think I'm starting to accept it, you know? Accept that things won't go back to how they were." She reaches over and squeezes my hand. "I'm proud of you," she says. "I know this isn't easy, but you're handling it better than most people would." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "Thanks. I just wish I knew where to go from here. Everything feels uncertain." Sophie nods. "It's okay to not have all the answers right now. Just take it one day at a time. And don't be afraid to lean on us. You don't have to go through this alone." Her words are a balm to my wounded heart. I've always been the one people leaned on, the dependable one. But maybe it's time to let others carry me for a while, to let myself be vulnerable. We sit in comfortable silence for a while, the stars above us a reminder that life keeps moving, even when it feels like time has stopped. The world hasn't ended, even if my world has changed. And in that realization, I find a small measure of peace. As I drive home later that night, the ache is still there, but it feels less suffocating. Maybe, just maybe, I can start a rebuild. Not the same life I had before, but something new, something that still holds meaning. The journey ahead still feels daunting, but for the first time, I'm not afraid to face it. The next morning, I wake up to sunlight streaming through the blinds, the warmth a small comfort against the emptiness beside me in bed. I lie there for a moment, letting the reality of the new day settle in. Erica's side of the bed remains untouched, a stark reminder of the void her absence has left. It's still hard to believe that everything we built is hanging by a thread, suspended between the past and an uncertain future. Determined not to let the day slip by in a haze of sadness, I force myself out of bed. I make coffee, something simple and grounding. The bitterness wakes me up, brings me back into the present, and I savor it, trying to focus on small joys. I've started to learn that healing is a series of moments like this, small victories, one after another. My phone buzzes on the kitchen counter. I pick it up, half expecting another text from Erica, but it's not her. It's a message from my old friend, Alex. We haven't talked much since college, life pulling us in different directions, but he's heard about my situation through mutual friends. "Alex, hey man, heard you're going through a rough time. Want to grab a beer this weekend? Catch up and get your mind off things?" The offer surprises me. Alex has always been the life of the party, someone who makes the darkness seem a little less daunting. Maybe that's exactly what I need right now. A distraction, a reminder that life goes on. I type out a quick response, agreeing to meet him, and for the first time in weeks, I feel a flicker of anticipation, however small. The rest of the day is spent doing mundane things: laundry, cleaning, running errands. It's strange how life's normalcy continues even when your world has been upended. But there's a comfort in routine, in the act of doing something, anything, to keep from sinking too deep into my thoughts. By late afternoon, I'm restless. I find myself pacing the house again, the quiet pressing in on me. In an effort to distract myself, I decide to tackle something I've been avoiding: going through the garage. It's cluttered with boxes of our shared history, things we accumulated together, and things that haven't been touched in years. Memories are layered in dust, waiting to be disturbed. I pull open a box labeled Vacation Memories in Erica's handwriting. Inside are old maps from trips we planned, postcards from places we visited, and a stack of photographs. My hands shake as I sift through them, images of us grinning in front of landmarks, wrapped in each other's arms. Each photo is a snapshot of a life that feels so far away now, a life that I'm still mourning. I come across one photo that stops me cold. It's of Erica and me standing on a beach, the sun setting behind us, casting everything in a golden glow. Her smile is wide and genuine, her eyes crinkled with happiness. I remember that day vividly, the way we ran into the waves, laughing like we didn't have a care in the world, the way she kissed me, salty and sweet. I feel the weight of that memory pressing on my chest, and tears prick at my eyes. It's not just the betrayal that hurts. It's the loss of all the good things, too. The love that was real, even if it didn't last. I sit there for a long time, clutching the photograph, letting myself grieve. Maybe healing means honoring both the love and the pain, acknowledging that both can coexist. My phone buzzes again, and I almost ignore it, but something compels me to check. It's Erica. The message is short, but it sends my heart racing. Erica, can we talk? I understand if you're not ready, but I need to say some things. I stare at the screen, my mind racing. Part of me wants to ignore her, to put up walls so she can't hurt me again. But another part of me is desperate for answers, for closure. I feel torn, standing at a crossroads, unsure which path will lead to healing and which will lead to more heartbreak. I take a deep breath, steadying myself. The choice is mine, and whatever I decide, I know it will shape the next chapter of my life. Maybe it's time to face the ghosts of my past, even if it hurts. I sit at the kitchen table, Erica's message lighting up my phone like a flare in the darkness. My fingers hover over the keyboard, the weight of her words pressing against my chest. Can we talk? Simple, straightforward, but loaded with meaning. The idea of hearing her out both terrifies and tempts me. For a moment, I debate whether to respond. The wound she left is still raw, a gaping chasm that I'm not sure I can bridge without falling into. But there's also a gnawing need for answers, for some semblance of understanding. I can't keep living in limbo, half-heartedly trying to move on while being haunted by the what-ifs. Before I can second-guess myself, I type out a quick reply. Me, okay. Where and when? She responds almost immediately, as if she's been waiting, her anxiety mirroring mine. Erica, our favorite cafe? Tomorrow at noon? I swallow hard. Our cafe, the little place with mismatched tables and the best caramel lattes in town. It's where we spent lazy afternoons, where we'd sit and people watch, sharing dreams about our future. It feels almost cruel to return there, but maybe it's fitting. The beginning of the end, or perhaps just an end I need to acknowledge. Me, I'll be there. I send the message and let out a shaky breath, the decision both grounding and unsettling. I'll finally have to face her, face everything that's broken between us. But at least I won't have to keep wondering what she has to say. The next morning feels like a slow crawl through time. I go through the motions of getting ready, but nothing feels real. My stomach is a pit of nerves, and I have to remind myself to breathe. By the time I pull into the parking lot of the cafe, my hands are shaking. The place is quiet, the lunchtime rush not yet in full swing. I walk in, the familiar aroma of freshly brewed coffee washing over me. For a moment, I'm hit with a wave of nostalgia, memories of laughter and stolen kisses filling my mind. But today, the memories feel like ghosts. Erica is already there, sitting at a corner table by the window. She's twisting her hands in her lap, a nervous habit I know all too well. Her hair is pulled back in a loose ponytail, and she's dressed simply, in a way that makes her look almost fragile. When she sees me, her eyes widen, and I catch a flicker of hope, quickly smothered by guilt. I walk over and sit across from her. The silence between us is thick, heavy with unspoken words. We exchange a quiet greeting, and then we're left staring at each other, two people who used to know each other better than anyone but are now almost strangers. "I'm glad you came," she says softly, her voice breaking the tension. I nod, but I don't smile. "You said you needed to talk. So talk." She winces at the coldness in my tone, but I don't apologize. I'm here to hear her out, but that doesn't mean I owe her anything more than that. She takes a shaky breath. "I've had a lot of time to think," she begins, her eyes brimming with tears, "about everything I've done and how I hurt you. And I know that nothing I say can undo the damage I caused." I stay silent, my gaze fixed on her. Let her speak, I remind myself. Let her get it out. "I didn't cheat because I didn't love you," she continues, her voice trembling. "I cheated because I didn't know how to handle the emptiness I felt. I know that sounds selfish. It is selfish, but I felt like I was disappearing, like I wasn't enough. And instead of facing that, I ran to someone else, thinking it would fill the void." She pauses, wiping at her eyes. "I'm not telling you this to make excuses. There are no excuses for what I did. I betrayed you, and I'll carry that guilt for the rest of my life. But I want you to know that I never stopped loving you, even when I made the worst mistake of my life." Her words are like a knife, twisting in the wound. I don't know what to say, don't know how to process the mix of emotions flooding me. Anger, sorrow, even a hint of pity. But most of all, a bone-deep exhaustion from carrying this pain. "You destroyed everything," I say, my voice cracking. "Our marriage, our trust, everything we built together. Do you have any idea what that feels like?" Tears spill down her cheeks, and she nods. "I do now," she whispers. "Every day, I hate myself for what I did. But I needed you to know how sorry I am. I needed you to hear it from me." The vulnerability in her voice hits me, but I hold my ground. I can't let myself be swayed by guilt or memories. This isn't about making her feel better. It's about figuring out if I can ever heal from what she's done. We sit there, the silence pressing down on us, and I realize that no matter what happens, this moment is a turning point. I don't know if forgiveness is possible or even what I want, but hearing her admit the depth of her mistake is a step forward, a painful, complicated step. I sit there, staring at Erica, the weight of her confession pressing down on me. For so long, I've imagined what this moment would be like, imagined the things I'd say if I ever had the chance to confront her. But now that I'm here, all the words I rehearsed feel empty, inadequate to express the depth of my pain. I take a long breath, trying to steady myself. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I say finally, my voice raw. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust you again." Erica flinches, but she doesn't look away. "I understand," she whispers. "I wouldn't expect you to. Trust has to be earned, and I know I've destroyed it. I don't deserve another chance, but I hope you'll at least let me try to make things right." I want to ask her how. How does she think she can fix this? How can anything she does erase the betrayal, the nights I spent lying awake, replaying the scene at the Clover in my mind? But instead, I look at her, really look at her, and for the first time, I notice how much this has affected her, too. Her face is pale, and the light in her eyes has dimmed, like she's carrying the weight of her choices every day. "Why did you really do it?" I ask, my voice cracking. I need to understand, even if it doesn't change anything. She takes a moment, her hands twisting together. "It wasn't about you," she admits. "It was about me. About feeling invisible, like I'd lost myself in being a wife, in the life we created. I thought having someone else see me would make me feel whole again, but it only made everything worse." Her honesty hits me like a punch to the gut. The version of Erica I built up in my mind, the version who made a conscious choice to hurt me, suddenly feels more complex, more human. It doesn't excuse her actions, but it makes them more real, more tragic. I never stopped loving you, she says again, and I can see how much it costs her to admit it. But I failed you, and I don't know if I can ever make up for that. For a long time, we sit in silence, the echoes of our past and the mess of our present swirling around us. I think about everything we had, everything we lost, and the future that now feels like an uncertain blur. Part of me wants to hate her, to hold on to the anger because it feels safer than vulnerability. But there's another part of me, a small, aching part, that doesn't want to live in the shadows of this pain forever. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, I repeat, softer this time. But I know I can't keep carrying this anger either. It's destroying me. Her tears spill over, and she reaches out, but she doesn't touch me. Her hand hovers in the air, as if she's afraid that one touch will break whatever fragile connection we've managed to salvage. What do you want? She asks, her voice trembling. Do you want me to walk away, give you space? Or is there any part of you that wants to try? It's a question I don't know how to answer. I think about the future, about what healing might look like. Maybe it's a life where we find our way back to each other, slowly, piece by painful piece. Or maybe it's a life where we both move on, stronger but separate. I rub my temples, the weight of the choice pressing down on me. I don't know yet, I say honestly. But if there's even a chance of fixing this, it's going to take time. And I'm not promising anything. She nods, a flicker of hope breaking through her tears. I'll wait, she says. However long it takes, I'll wait. I stand up, feeling drained but strangely lighter, as if acknowledging the pain has loosened some of the chains around my heart. I need time, I tell her, and space. But I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk again. She stands too, her hands trembling. Thank you, she whispers, for hearing me out, and for giving me even the smallest chance. I turn and walk out of the cafe, my heart pounding. The road ahead is unclear, full of questions I don't have answers to. But for the first time, I feel like maybe, just maybe, there's a way forward. Whether it's together or apart, I know it's going to take time, and I'm finally okay with that. The drive home from the cafe feels surreal, like I'm moving through a fog. Erica's words replay in my mind, echoing with all the vulnerability and regret she poured into them. I can't shake the feeling of being suspended between two worlds, the past, full of love and dreams, and the present, scarred but still alive, still moving forward. When I pull into the driveway, I sit in the car for a moment, staring at the front door. The house feels different, like a place haunted by both painful memories and the possibility of a new beginning. I'm not sure which way the pendulum will swing, but at least I've confronted the truth head-on. I step inside, and the silence greets me like an old friend. I move through the house, my footsteps echoing in the empty spaces, and end up in our bedroom. The room looks untouched, Erica's side of the bed still perfectly made, her pillow undisturbed. I sit down and let out a heavy sigh, feeling the weariness of carrying all this emotional weight. My phone buzzes, pulling me out of my thoughts. It's a message from Sophie. Sophie, hey, just checking in. How did it go with Erica? I hesitate before responding. How do I even begin to explain everything that happened? The mix of anger, sorrow, and the tiny, fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to heal, no matter where that path leads. Me, it was intense. She wants to make things right, but I don't know if that's possible yet. I need time. Sophie replies almost immediately. Sophie, take all the time you need. You're allowed to feel everything, and you don't have to decide right away. I'm here if you need to talk. I smile, feeling a wave of gratitude for my sister. She's been a rock through all of this, reminding me that it's okay to feel lost and broken, that it's okay to take time to figure out what I want, what I need. The next few days are a blur of trying to piece my life back together. I go to work, attend my therapy sessions, and catch up with friends who pull me out of my own head, even if only for a little while. Each day feels like a small victory, like I'm reclaiming bits of myself that I lost somewhere along the way. One evening, I find myself standing in front of the memory box again. This time, though, I don't feel the same suffocating grief. Instead, I feel a quiet acceptance. I open the box, pulling out a few photos and a small scrapbook Erica and I made on our first wedding anniversary. We filled it with silly things: ticket stubs, Polaroid photos, and handwritten notes about our favorite memories. I flip through the pages, and as much as it hurts, I find myself smiling. These moments were real, even if they ended in pain. And maybe that's part of healing, recognizing that the love we shared wasn't a lie, even if it didn't last forever. The doorbell rings, pulling me out of my thoughts. I head downstairs and open the door to find Mark standing there, a six-pack of beer in one hand and a bag of takeout in the other. "Surprise," he says, grinning. "Thought you could use some company." I can't help but laugh. "Come on in." We settle in the living room, the smell of Chinese food filling the air. Mark cracks open 2 beers and hands me one, his expression shifting from playful to serious. "How are you really doing?" he asks, his voice gentle. I take a sip, the cold beer grounding me. "I'm better," I say honestly. "Not great, but better." Seeing Erica helped, in a weird way. It didn't fix anything, but at least I don't feel so trapped in my own head. Mark nods. "Progress is progress, man, even if it's slow." We eat and talk, and for the first time in what feels like forever, I laugh, really laugh. Mark tells a story about one of our college escapades, and I nearly choke on my beer from laughing so hard. It feels good, like the first breath of fresh air after being underwater for too long. As the evening winds down, Mark leans back and studies me. "You know," he says, "no matter what happens with Erica, you're going to be okay. You're stronger than you think." His words sink in, and I realize that maybe he's right. Maybe, no matter how things turn out, I will be okay. Healing doesn't mean forgetting or pretending everything is fine. It means facing the pain, carrying it with me, but not letting it define who I am. When Mark leaves, I stand on the porch for a moment, staring up at the night sky. The stars are bright, and I take a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill my lungs. For the first time in a long while, I feel a sense of calm, a sense of hope. I don't have all the answers, but I'm starting to believe that I'll find them in time. The days continue to pass, each one a step away from the raw, overwhelming pain and towards something that feels almost manageable. Therapy becomes a lifeline, helping me process the storm of emotions swirling inside me. Dr. Harris encourages me to think about my future, not just the one I imagine with Erica, but the one I can create for myself. One afternoon, after a particularly intense session, I find myself driving to a park on the edge of town. It's a place I haven't visited in years, a quiet spot where Erica and I once spent lazy afternoons, lying on a picnic blanket and watching the clouds drift by. I park the car and make my way to a bench overlooking a small pond. The sun is warm on my face, and for a moment, I close my eyes, letting the memories wash over me. I think about everything we shared, the laughter and the love, the promises we made. But I also think about the distance that grew between us, the cracks we never acknowledged until it was too late. In this moment, I realize that healing doesn't mean erasing the past. It means learning to live with it, to let it shape me without letting it break me. As I sit there, my phone buzzes. This time, it's not Erica or Sophie. It's an old colleague, someone I worked with briefly on a project years ago. The message is simple but intriguing. "Colleague, hey Chris, there's an opening at our firm, and your name came up. You interested?" I stare at the message, surprised. The idea of a new job, a new beginning, hadn't even crossed my mind. But as I think about it, the possibility feels like a spark of something new, something hopeful. Maybe this is the universe telling me it's time to start fresh, to build a life that's mine again. Me, thanks for thinking of me. Let's talk more about it. The idea of a career change fills me with a cautious sense of excitement. It's one more step toward reclaiming myself, one more way to move forward instead of clinging to what's broken. That evening, I finally decide to check my email. I've been avoiding it for days, knowing that Erica's message would be sitting there, waiting. She had promised to send a letter, something she wrote after our meeting at the cafe, and I've been dreading and longing to read it. My inbox is cluttered with work notifications and spam, but there it is, her name, standing out like a beacon. I take a deep breath and open the email. Her words spill onto the screen, raw and unfiltered. Chris, I don't know if you'll ever be able to forgive me, and I don't blame you if you can't. But I wanted you to know that I'm working on myself, that I'm trying to understand how I became someone who could hurt the person she loved most in the world. I've started therapy, too. I know that doesn't make up for anything, but I'm hoping it means I won't keep repeating the same mistakes. You once told me that love is about showing up for each other, even when it's hard. I failed at that. I let my fears and insecurities pull me away from you, and I hate that I hurt you. If nothing else, I hope you find peace and happiness, whether that's with me or not. You deserve that. You always did. Forever sorry. Erica. Tears sting my eyes, and I don't fight them. Her words are a mix of regret and hope, and they make me ache all over again. But they also bring a sense of closure, a small piece of the puzzle sliding into place. Maybe she's changing, or maybe it's just too late. Either way, I feel a strange sense of gratitude that she's trying, that she's at least taking responsibility. I close my laptop and lean back, letting the silence fill the room. The pain isn't gone, but it's starting to feel like something I can carry, something that doesn't have to consume me. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive Erica fully, but maybe forgiveness isn't the point. Maybe it's about healing myself, about moving forward in a way that honors the love I had while embracing the life I can still build. That night, I sleep without nightmares for the first time in weeks, and when I wake up, the sun is rising, casting golden light across my room. The world feels different, and so do I. I'm not whole, not yet, but I'm beginning to understand that wholeness isn't a destination. It's a journey, one step at a time. The next few weeks unfold like a gradual sunrise, each day bringing a little more light. Healing is not a linear process. I still have nights when the memories sting like fresh wounds, when I replay the betrayal and wonder if I should have seen it coming. But there are also moments of clarity, times when I feel like I'm starting to rebuild a life that's my own. I follow up with my colleague about the job opportunity, and we schedule a meeting. It's in a different city, a few hours away, and the idea of relocating fills me with equal parts excitement and trepidation. Moving would mean starting over in a very real way, but it would also mean leaving behind the ghost of the life I shared with Erica. As I weigh the decision, I realize that maybe a fresh start is exactly what I need. Sophie invites me over for dinner again, and this time, I bring a bottle of wine to share. Her kids bombard me at the door, and we end up playing an intense game of hide and seek that leaves me breathless with laughter. It feels good, like finding an old part of myself I thought I'd lost. Sophie notices the change in me, the way I smile a little more easily, and she gives me a knowing look as we sit on the back porch again. "You're looking better," she says, her eyes kind. "I'm proud of you, Chris. You're doing the work." I nod, a small smile tugging at my lips. "I'm trying. It's not perfect, but it's getting easier." She raises her glass to me, and we toast to new beginnings, the clink of glass against glass a hopeful sound. For the first time in a long while, I feel like the future is something to look forward to, not something to fear. A few days later, I get a call from Erica. The sight of her name on my phone still makes my heart clench, but the pain is duller now, less overwhelming. I answer, and her voice is hesitant, fragile, like she's afraid of breaking whatever tentative peace we've found. "Hi, Chris," she says softly. "I just wanted to check in. I hope that's okay." "It's okay," I reply, and I mean it. "How are you?" "I'm working on it," she says. "Therapy is helping, but it's hard, facing everything I let myself become." Her honesty doesn't make me angry. Instead, I feel a quiet respect for her, for the person she's trying to become. "I'm glad," I tell her. "You deserve to heal, too." We talk for a few minutes, the conversation careful but sincere. There's still so much unresolved between us, but for the first time, it feels like we're on separate but parallel paths toward healing. I don't know if we'll ever find our way back to each other, but I'm finally okay with that uncertainty. We're both growing in our own ways, and that's enough for now. When we hang up, I feel a strange sense of peace. The hurt will never fully disappear, but it no longer feels like it's controlling me. I'm taking back my power, piece by piece. On a Saturday morning, I drive to the city where the new job opportunity awaits. I meet with the team, and the office buzzes with energy and excitement. The work feels challenging, invigorating, and I can picture myself thriving here, reinventing myself in a new environment. As I leave the meeting, I find myself grinning, the future no longer a blur but a canvas waiting to be painted. I call Sophie on the drive back. I think I'm going to take it, I tell her, my voice filled with hope. The job, the move. I think it's what I need. She cheers so loudly I have to pull the phone away from my ear, and we both laugh, the sound like a burst of sunshine. I'm so proud of you, she says, her voice thick with emotion. You're going to be amazing, Chris. I just know it. The highway stretches ahead of me, and for the first time in a long while, I feel like I'm not driving away from something but toward it. Toward a new life, new dreams, and the chance to become the person I want to be. That night, as I sit in my nearly empty living room, boxes stacked in preparation for the move, I feel a sense of closure. The past will always be part of me, but it no longer defines me. I'm ready for the next chapter, whatever it holds. Standing at the window, I watch the stars come out, and a smile tugs at my lips. The journey has been long and painful, but I'm still here, still moving forward. And that, I realize, is enough. The world is wide, and life is full of possibilities. It's time to see where the road leads. Thank you for following along with this journey. Healing and growth are never easy, but they are always worth it. If you've ever faced a betrayal or a challenge that felt insurmountable, I hope this story reminds you that it's okay to take things one step at a time. Share your thoughts, and let me know if you have your own experiences to reflect on. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of resilience and hope.